I pulled the trigger without blinking, the crack echoing like a judge's gavel in our McMansion's den. Jack's scream shattered the silence, his knee exploding in a spray of fabric and fury. But it wasn't the pain that broke him. It was the realization that I'd finally stopped playing the loyal wife. 5 years ago, I'd confessed to a hit-and-run that mangled a family station wagon on a foggy Seattle interstate, taking the fall so he could chase his tech bro dreams in Silicon Valley. Tonight, as his blood pooled on the Persian rug his mistress picked out, Tom, his so-called best friend, whispered the truth. Jack hadn't just cheated. He'd framed me for murder. And in that moment, with the 911 call lighting up my phone like a guilty verdict, I wondered if revenge tasted sweeter than freedom. It started as it always did in our circle, a backyard barbecue in the shadow of the Cascades, where the air smelled of cedar smoke and overpriced craft IPAs. Jack had invited his crew, the venture capitalists with their Tesla key fobs and crypto war stories, over to our Bellevue split level, the one we'd bought with my settlement from that phantom insurance payout. I was flipping salmon fillets on the Traeger, wearing the sundress that hugged my post-divorce curves just right, when the laughter hit like a sucker punch. "Hazel's got that black belt in delusion," Jack slurred, his arms slung around Tom's shoulder like they were still frat brothers dodging finals at UW. The guys, Mark, the hedge fund prick, Derek, the serial entrepreneur with 3 ex-wives, howled as Jack mimed me karate chopping my way through life. "Babe thinks she's Wonder Woman 'cause she covered my ass once. Remember that fender bender?
Boys?"
She took the heat like a champ. What was it? 5 months in county for scratch. The words landed like hot coals on my skin. I gripped the tongs until my knuckles whitened, forcing a smile that felt like razor wire. Covered his ass. That's what he called it? The hit and run wasn't a fender bender. It was a nightmare on I-5. Rain slicking the asphalt like oil on a snake's back. A minivan swerved into our lane. Jack's fault. Stone cold sober, but texting his latest side piece, and plowed into the guardrail. The driver, a mom named Elena Vasquez, walked away with whiplash and a totaled Honda. But her 7-year-old son? Fractured skull. Coma for weeks. I was behind the wheel in Jack's story, the reckless housewife with a glass of Pinot in her system. He walked free, launched his app, Peak Pulse, some fitness tracker that made him a half-millionaire overnight. I did community service and lost my nursing certification. Loyalty. My ass. The party dragged on, the fire pit crackling like suppressed rage. I played the part, refilling solo cups, laughing at their bro jokes about Me Too being overplayed, but inside, something uncoiled. Tom caught my eye across the flames, his face a mask of quiet discomfort. He was the wild card in Jack's pack, ex-Marine, now a cybersecurity consultant, with tattoos snaking up his arms and eyes that saw too much. We'd bonded over bad divorces once, swapping war stories at a dive bar in Pioneer Square. "You're too good for this circus, Hazel," he'd said then, sliding me a shot of Jameson. "Tonight." He just nodded, like he knew the dam was cracking. By dusk, the wives had trickled in, trophy types with Botox smiles and Lululemon leggings, turning the vibe to awkward small talk about Roth IRAs and Montessori waitlists. Jack, buzzed and bold, pulled me onto his lap for a showy kiss that tasted like betrayal. "See,
Boys?"
Still got it," he crowed, his hand creeping too high on my thigh. The mockery lingered, a stain on the evening, as the last Uber peeled out, leaving beer cans like spent shells on the lawn. I cornered him in the kitchen. "What the hell was that?" I hissed, scrubbing a plate with enough force to etch glass. The sink gurgled like it was choking on my fury. Jack shrugged, popping a beer from the Sub-Zero. Lighten up.
Has.
It's guy talk. You know I love you. His eyes flicked to his phone, another notification from Peak Pulse. Another $sign chasing his ego.
Love.
The word curdled in my gut. 5 years of this. Me rebuilding from the ashes of his lie. Scraping by as a barista at that hipster spot in Capitol Hill. While he networked at Galvanize. Schmoozing for series of funding. I'd swallowed it all for us. The dream of stability after my folks' trailer park implosion in Spokane. But tonight, the mockery cracked the facade. Tom lingered, ostensibly to help clean up, but his boots stayed planted by the island. Jack clapped him on the back. Stay for a nightcap. Bro, has makes a mean old-fashioned. It was code for, stick around, let's trash talk the world. I poured the rye neat, the ice clinking like handcuffs. We migrated to the den. The room Jack called his man cave, leather recliners. A flat screen blasting ESPN. Walls lined with signed Seahawks jerseys and framed stock photos of us on our Maui honeymoon. Lies upon lies. The whiskey flowed, loosening tongues. Jack launched into his routine, the startup grind, how VCs were sharks in chum, how Elena Vasquez's lawsuit got squashed, thanks to his silver tongue. Insurance covered it.
Right? Has.
You were a rock. He winked, oblivious or uncaring.
Tom shifted, his jaw tightening.
I watched him over the rim of my glass, the amber liquid burning a path to my resolve. Then it spilled. Jack, 3 sheets in, leaned forward with that predatory gleam. Speaking of rocks, remember that intern? The one from Stanford? God, she was fire. What was her name? Riley? Yeah, Riley. Has walked in on us in the conference room, boom. Papers everywhere. Funniest shit. The room spun. Not the booze, the memory. 2 years ago. Peak Pulse holiday party. I'd shown up early with takeout from Ivers. Only to find Jack bent over the desk with a 20-something coding whiz. Her skirt hiked like a flag of surrender. I'd fled. Swallowed it. Told myself it was stress. But broadcasting it now?
To Tom.
Of all people? Tom's face darkened. A storm cloud in the lamplight. Jack. That's not. He trailed off. But Jack barreled on. Oblivious. Come on.
Tom.
You were there last month when I hooked up with her again. Hotel bar at the W, classy.
Right?
Has is clueless. Buried in her coffee slinging. The words hung. Venomous. Clueless? I'd ignored the late nights. The Victoria's Secret charges. The way his phone buzzed like a guilty conscience. But this? Mocking me like I was the punchline in his bro comedy? I stood. Chair scraping like nails on a chalkboard. Get out. My voice was steel. Forged in that county lockup where I'd stared at cinderblock walls. Whispering prayers for his success. Jack laughed, spilling whiskey on the rug.
Ah, babe.
Don't be dramatic. It's just. Tom exploded up.
Chair toppling.
Shut your mouth.
Jack.
For once. His voice was gravel. The Marine in him surfacing. Jack blinked. Smirk faltering.
What?
You jealous or some shit? The air thickened. Electric with unspoken histories. Tom turned to me. Eyes haunted. Hazel. There's more. The hit and run? It wasn't just a fender bender. Jack. He swallowed, glancing at his friend. No. Former friend, like he was measuring a grave. He killed someone that night. Not Elena's kid, the driver before. A hitchhiker. Jack swerved. But instead of stopping, he made you drive. Pushed you to confess.
And I
helped bury it. The world tilted. Whiskey soured in my throat. Jack's face drained of color, his mockery evaporating into panic. Tom. You son of a... But Tom was already unraveling the thread, words tumbling like dominoes. 5 years back. Pre-peak pulse. Jack was a mid-level coder drowning in student debt. Tom his roommate in a Belltown walk-up. The night of the crash, Jack, wired on Adderall and Red Bull, picked up a drifter on the outskirts of Tacoma, some ghost named Victor Hale. Thumb out in the downpour. Argument over the radio. Jack's road rage flaring. He floored it, clipping Victor, sending him tumbling into the ditch. Dead on impact. Neck snapped like kindling. Jack panicked.
called Tom.
They dragged the body to a ravine off Highway 101, weighted it with cinder blocks from a construction site, dumped it where the salmon run. Then, the minivan swerved, Jack's fault, as always, and to cover the hitchhiker's blood on the bumper, he pinned it on me. You were there. He'd sobbed that night, eyes wet with crocodile tears. Say it was you. For us. I'd believed him. Loved him. Took the plea deal. Manslaughter. Reduced to reckless endangerment. 6 months in King County. My reputation shredded. Nursing dreams deferred. Tom? He'd hacked the dashcam footage, erased it clean because bros before. Everything. Guilt had gnawed him since. Especially after Jack's affair started, flaunting Riley like a trophy while I rebuilt alone. Jack lunged, fists balled. You lying sack. I moved first. The Glock 19 was Jack's protection, tucked in the side table drawer. Unloaded but for the mag. Adrenaline surged, black belt instincts kicking in. I sidestepped, grabbed it, racked the slide with a metallic snick.
Sit.
Down. My voice was a whip crack. Jack froze, eyes wide like a cornered rat. Tom backed up, hands raised, but his gaze held mine. Apology. Complicity. Something darker. The mockery from the barbecue echoed in my skull, fueling the fire. Jack had turned my sacrifice into a joke, our marriage into a farce. And Tom? His revelation was absolution or another layer of deceit. Rain lashed the windows, thunder rumbling like distant artillery. I leveled the gun at Jack's knee, the one that had carried him through life unscathed. Tell me why.
Jack.
Why mock me? Why her? Why me taking the fall for your mess? He babbled, sweat beading on his brow. Baby, it was nothing. Heat of the moment. Riley means zip. And the crash. I was scared. You were strong. I love lies. Tom's voice cut through, low and lethal. He stepped closer, phone in hand, recording. There's proof. Hazel. I kept backups. Victor Hale's prints on the door handle. Jack's Venmo to that sketchy diver who helped with the blocks. I sat on it because... Hell, he was my brother. But tonight, seeing him degrade you? No more. Jack's eyes darted between us. Betrayal twisting his features. You backstabbing after everything? The equity I gave you in Peak Pulse. Tom's laugh was bitter. 5% for silence? You're a parasite. Jack. The room pulsed with tension. The the storm outside mirroring the one brewing inside. I finger hovered on the trigger, heart hammering. Revenge wasn't a plan, it was instinct, raw and unfiltered. But as Jack whimpered, "Please, don't," I saw the abyss staring back, not just his guilt, but mine. I'd enabled it all, loved the monster I'd helped create. The shot rang out, shattering the lie we'd lived. Jack crumpled, howling, blood blooming dark on his khakis. Sirens wailed in the distance. Tom must have dialed anonymously. I dropped the gun, hands trembling, the weight of 5 years crashing down. Freedom? Or just another cage? As cops kicked in the door, Tom met my gaze one last time. "Run if you can, Hazel. You deserve that much." But running wasn't in me anymore. Not after the fall I'd already taken. The patrol car's blue lights painted the rain-slicked driveway in staccato pulses, turning our manicured suburb into a crime scene from a true crime podcast. I sat on the curb, wrists cuffed behind me like a villain in my own story, watching paramedics swarm Jack like ants on a spill. His moans cut through the downpour, pathetic, theatrical, as they loaded him onto the gurney, knee swaddled in bloody gauze. "She shot me. My wife. Crazy bitch." The words stung less than the mockery earlier. They were just noise now, static in the storm of my unraveling life. Detective Ruiz, stocky Latina with a no-bullshit ponytail and a mariner's jacket, squatted beside me, notepad dripping. "MS. Whitaker? Hazel? Walk me through it." "Start from the barbecue." Her voice was steady, the kind that coaxed confessions from bar stools in South Park taverns. I glanced at Tom, zip-tied to the squad car, his face a stoic mask under the sodium lamps. He'd lawyered up quick, invoking his right to remain silent like a pro. Smart. The backups he mentioned? Leverage or liability? I started talking, the words spilling like the whiskey earlier, raw, unfiltered. The hit and run. Jack's lies. The affair broadcast like a roast gone wrong. Ruiz's pen scratched furiously, her eyes narrowing at the murder angle. "Hitchhiker? Victor Hale? That's a cold case from 20. You got evidence?" I nodded toward Tom. "Ask him." He buried it, literally. Jack's screams peaked as they slammed the ambulance doors, his glare promising hell if he survived the ore. Controversial? Hell yes. I'd maimed my husband in self-defense. Or was it vengeance? The line blurred in the deluge. Neighbors peeking from bay windows. Phones out. Live tweeting Bellevue bloodbath.
By dawn,
I was in an interrogation room at the East Precinct, the coffee bitter as regret, walls the color of faded hope. My public defender, overworked millennial named Kyle with a man bun, paced, quoting Miranda like scripture. "Please self-defense. Hazel. Domestic dispute. Provoked. The knee? Non-lethal. But that cold case. If Tom's talking, it flips the script. You were coerced."
Coerced.
The word echoed the vows I'd whispered in a Reno chapel. Drunk on youth and his charm. Jack Whitaker, golden boy from Tacoma, valedictorian with a MIT pedigree, who swept me off my feet at a Seahawks tailgate. We'd built Peak Pulse in our Capitol Hill studio, me handling ops while he coded. Until the crash. Until I became the fall guy. Tom did talk, selectively. By noon, Ruiz looped me in via video link from Holding. "Your buddy here's cutting a deal," she said, screen flickering. Tom's face filled the frame. Hollow-cheeked, Tattoos stark under fluorescence. Hazel. I recorded Jack tonight. Full confession on the hitchhiker. Sent it to the DA before the cops rolled. Anonymously, his voice cracked. Marine steel bending. And the backups? Cloud drive. Encrypted. Access codes your birthday, 0815. Use it. Why now? I leaned into the camera, searching his eyes for the lie. Tom had always been the shadow to Jack's spotlight, enlisted after September 11th. Bounced out with a Purple Heart and PTSD. Funneled into tech by VA grants. Jack poached him for Peak Pulse security. Bound them in NDAs and equity shares. But guilt? Or greed? Because you're the only clean one here, he said. Voice dropping. Jack's been bleeding the company dry, siphoning funds to Riley's startup. Embezzlement. I found the ledgers last week. He knew I was onto him. That's why the mockery tonight. Testing loyalties. Ruiz cleared her throat. Off screen.
Tom's gaze held mine.
I flipped. Hazel. For you. Run the code. Expose him. Get your life back. The link cut, leaving me adrift.
Clean? Me?
I'd perjured myself for love, rebuilt on sand. But the code burned in my brain like a lifeline. Bail came fast, $50K. Courtesy of my rainy day fund from barista tips and the house equity Jack gifted post-plea. Kyle drove me home. The split level taped off like a bad memory. Yellow crime scene ribbon fluttering like surrender flags. Neighbors whispered from porches. Poor Hazel. Always knew Jack was a tool. Their pity a fresh wound. Alone in the guest room, our bed still rumpled from last night's farce, I fired at my laptop. Fingers flying. The cloud drive unlocked, folders labeled insurance, Victor, Riley. Photos first, grainy dashcam stills of Victor Hale. Gaunt face under a mariner's cap. Thumb out by a chevron. Blood spatter on the grill. Time-stamped 11:47 p.m. October 17th, 2020. Then emails, Jack to a burner account. Handle the diver. $5,000 wired. Venmo receipts to Aquaman Dive Company in Port Angeles. And the kicker, audio files. Jack's voice. Slurred post-crash. Tom. Help me. Body in the trunk. Can't know, she'll freak. Tom's reply. This is murder.
Man.
We call it in. Jack. No. Or Peak Pulse dies. Brothers. Right. My stomach roiled. Not just cover-up, conspiracy. I'd been the patsy. The devoted fool. Rage simmered. But so did doubt. Tom's spilling now. After years of silence, the ledgers showed Peak Pulse hemorrhaging, $200,000 to Riley's LLC. Offshore accounts in the Caymans. Jack's revenge porn on me? No. Insurance against Tom's whistleblowing. But why drag me into the crossfire? I forwarded it all to Ruiz anonymously. VPN routed through a Tor node Tom had taught me. Then, the real planning. Revenge wasn't a shot in the knee. It was surgical. American Dream style. Jack in Harborview Medical. Doped on morphine. Lawyered by his VC daddy's firm. Riley? I doxed her easy. LinkedIn profile screaming disruptor. Insta flooded with boss babe brunches. Her startup, a knockoff meditation app. Funded by Jack Siphon. I crafted an email from a burner. Peak Pulse audit incoming. Embezzlement trail leads to you. Resign or rot. Attached, redacted ledgers. Her reply pinged in minutes. Who is this?
Jack.
Schadenfreude tasted like dark roast.
But Tom?
I visited him in county. Plexiglass between us like a confessional. Why protect me now? I pressed the receiver. Voice low. He leaned in, breath fogging the divider. Because I loved you first. Hazel. Before Jack. College, remember that party at the Sigma house? I backed off 'cause he staked claim. But watching him grind you down, his eyes glistened. Victor's ghost haunts me. Nightmares. Therapy bills stacking. It's atonement. And yeah, maybe selfishness. If Jack falls, I get his shares. 51% control. The flip. Villain to victim. Or schemer unmasked. Tom's confession twisted the knife. He'd recorded Jack not just tonight, but for months, insurance policy. For when he turns on me, he'd say. Controversial? Absolutely. Was he saving me or stealing the throne? I left without answering. The buzzer mocking my exit. Words spread like West Nile in a heatwave. Hazel hero trending on X. True crime TikToks dissecting the tech bro takedown. Feminists hailed me as Avenger, and GDOW forums branded me Harpy. Jack's arraignment loomed. Attempted murder charge on me dropped to misdemeanor assault. His knee a mutual scuffle. But the cold case? DA's office buzzing. Victor Hale's file dusted off. Elena Vasquez called my burner, tears in her voice. If this clears you. Thank you. Her son's out of therapy. Playing peewee soccer. Collateral grace in the carnage. I moved to a studio in Fremont. Trolleys clanging outside like ironic applause. Nights blurred. Yoga to purge the PTSD. Bourbon to numb it. Revenge Phase 2. The board. Peak Pulse next pitch. Shark Tank vibe at a Soto loft. I crashed as former ops lead. VCs blinked at my PowerPoint. Fraudulent founder. See exhibits. Gasps. Walkouts. Jack's empire teetered. Series A evaporating like morning fog. But the tension coiled tighter. Riley ghosted. Her app tanking amid leaks. Tom, released on technicals, cooperating witness. He showed at my door, six-pack in hand, eyes pleading. Partners? The word hung, loaded. I let him in, the rain starting again. Decisions loomed. Burn it all, or rebuild on the ruins. The villain wore many faces. Jack's smirk, Tom's shadows, my own reflection. And as his hand brushed mine, I wondered, was this alliance or another betrayal waiting to bloom? The Soto loft reeked of venture capital desperation, exposed bricks sweating under track lighting, white boards scrawled with hockey stick projections, and a craft beer fountain flowing like false promises. Peak Pulse relaunch, pitch. Jack sidelined by his cane-clacking rehab. Tom fronting as interim CEO in a tailored blazer that hid his ink. I slipped in late, blending with the tech bros and their plus ones. A ghost in black jeans and a hoodie that screamed disgruntled ex. The room hummed with whispers. Hazel Hero had morphed into corporate coup. Ex ablaze with speculation. Was I vigilante or vulture? Tom spotted me first. Mid-slide on user growth metrics. His eyes flicked panic, excitement. But he powered through. Voice steady as he touted AI-driven wellness tracking. Post-Jack era. Transparent. Innovative. The irony burned. The app's core code was Jack's. Stolen from a competitor in a gentleman's agreement that smelled like theft. VCs nodded, mesmerized by Tom's marine poise. But I saw the cracks, sweat beading on his collar. The way his free hand clenched like it itched for a rifle grip. I waited until Q&A, rising from the back like Lady Macbeth at a TED Talk. Question for the interim CEO. Head swiveled. A murmur rippled. Tom's jaw tightened. Innovative how? Like siphoning $300,000 to a founder's side hustle? Or erasing dashcam footage of a homicide? Gasps echoed off the rafters. I held up my phone, live streaming to X. Views spiking. Exhibit A. Victor Hale. 2020. Your diver buddy's getting a subpoena. Exhibit B. Riley's app, Peak Pulse assets. Laundered through Caymans. Care to comment. Chaos erupted. VCs bolted for exits. Laptops slamming like guillotines. Tom lunged across the podium. Mike screeching feedback. Hazel. Stand down, this isn't. But security, rent-a-cops with tasers swarmed, mistaking me for the threat. Punches flew, I dodged, elbowing one in the gut. Black belt muscle memory saving my hide. Tom shouted over the fray. Stop. She's equity holder, ops founder. The tussle spilled onto the loading dock. Rain sheeting down like judgment. My hoodie plastered, breath ragged. He caught my arm as the last VC's Tesla whined away. What the hell? Hazel? We had a play. His face was thunder. But underneath hurt? Betrayal? I yanked free, chest heaving. Your play? Or Jack's endgame? The pieces clicked in the downpour. Tom's atonement drive. The recordings. I dug deeper post-Fremont. Hard a PI on barista overtime. The kind who haunts dive bars for dirt. Victor Hale wasn't random. He was Tom's cousin. AWOL after a bad discharge. Hitchhiking home from a VA clinic in Olympia. Jack killed family. And Tom? Covered for the man who cuckolded him. Wait.
No.
The PI's report. Tom's affair with me. Pre-Jack claim. Stolen kisses at that Sigma party. Ended when Jack won me. But the real twist? Tom planted the dashcam evidence, not to exonerate, but to frame Jack later. Leverage for control, the PI said, sliding grainy photos of Tom and Riley. Post-crash. In a Belltown motel. He's playing you both. The revelation hit like the knee shot. Tom. The schemer supreme. His love-first confession?
Bait.
The backups? Breadcrumbs to draw me in. Make me the patsy whistleblower while he scooped the shares. Controversial didn't cover it. I'd been the pawn in a chess match of male egos. My sacrifice just collateral. You used me, I spat. Rain mixing with tears I refused to acknowledge. Victor's blood on your hands, too. Family. Tom's mask shattered. Eyes wild. I did it for us. Jack was poison, embezzling. Cheating.
Victor.
He was lost anyway. Junkie ghost. I buried him to bury the past. With you. Hazel, we could have run Peak Pulse clean. Billions potential. He stepped closer. Hand outstretched like a lifeline or a noose. Join me. DA's dropping charges, self-defense. All of it. Jack's ruined. Knee busted. Empire dust. We're free.
Free.
The word mocked me, echoing Elena's grateful call. Her son's laughter in the background. I'd clear my name. Hidden run plea vacated. Nursing license reinstated pending review. But at what cost? Revenge's high faded. Leaving Ash, a maimed husband rotting in civil suits. A friend unmasked as Machiavellian. And me?
Complicit in the web.
Sirens wailed distant. Cops tracing my stream. No doubt. Split second. Pull Tom into the shadows. Expose him live. Watch his house of cards collapse.
Or.
I kissed him. Hard. furious, tasting rain and ruin. His shock melted into hunger, hands framing my face like I was salvation. Yes, he murmured against my lips. We've vanished into the night. Uber to Seattle, Tacoma. First flight to Vegas. Ironic. Full circle. Peak pulse? Tom sold remnants to a rival for scraps. Proceeds split. Mine funneled to Elena's foundation for accident victims. His to whatever ghosts he chased. Jack, paralyzed empire. Limping through depositions. Riley ghosting him for a crypto bro.
Me?
Enrolled at Seattle U. Nursing track. Dates with Tom tentative, therapy mandatory. Trust a work in progress. But the twist lingers, polarizing as a jury deadlocked. Was it happy? I avenged my fall, reclaimed my narrative, built something real from the wreckage. Or tragic. Tom's shadows whisper doubts. Another betrayal brewing? Victor's ravine grave unquiet? Readers hell. Even I debated over IPAs. Heroin risen. Or survivor scarred. Dancing with devils? In America's grind, where dreams die in spreadsheets and rain. Maybe that's the point. No one's clean. Revenge just redistributes the dirt. And as Tom sleeps beside me now, city lights flickering like unanswered questions, I grip the sheets, wondering if the next shot, literal or not, will be mine to take. Or his.